Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Captain Shaq here, and welcome to Legacy of the Old Republic, a total conversion mod for Stellaris. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what the mod has to offer, why I recommend it after having played a number of campaigns now, and my very first multiplayer campaign that I've ever played in Stellaris. This is actually a pretty fun mod. Links in the description if you want to go and check it out. The music that we're going to be playing for this in the background for the whole video is not the music that's in the game for obvious reasons, so just keep that in mind when you play. You'll have a different audio experience. But let's just take a look at what the mod is. So if I go to New Game and we look, all right, here's the coolest feature of the mod, hands down in my opinion. So one of the issues with a lot of these big conversion mods is that you start off with a preset empire and way too many planets. It's basically like dumping yourself into the mid-game of a Stellaris session. And it's not very fun because you didn't design and build that faction. Well, the way that they get around this for Legacy of the Old Republic is simple. They break the galaxy into its various regions that make sense, and then your faction will spawn based on color coding that you choose within that region. Meaning all of your core world factions will start off in the core world. If you're playing as the Hutts, like me and myself and Advisor did, which you'll see some footage of that mixed into this video, well, you're gonna spawn to that white blob there in the center of the green area. Now, we both decided that we wanted to play near each other, so we'd find each other fairly early on, and there's only two factions that spawn in Hutt space, and that is the Hutt Empire and the Pike Syndicate. But look at how many factions there are, and we'll look at the ship models and what's available. You know what? Let's go ahead and look into the ship models right now. So we'll pick let's pick a group. Let's pick the Mandalorians. We'll go into Mandalorian space. Actually, do want to check these guys out. So Mandalorians are the Shattered Clans is how you'll start with them, but they do change. We'll talk about that in a second. Army of Outcasts. War exhaustion minus 25%. Warrior culture. Now, one of the coolest things about a lot of these factions is that you will find that, like the Guardians of the Wills, right? If you don't know who they are a group of individuals that run the Jeddah Temple, the city of Jeddah. They are the religious aspect of the Force in the Star Wars galaxy. You look at the Force as a religion, right? So not all Jedi are Guardians of the Wills, I believe, but not all Guardians of the Wills are Jedi. Kind of gives you an idea of who they are. But you can play as them, and you get a custom trait. You get Pilgrims of the Force. Happiness plus 5%, monthly unity plus 5%, diplomatic weight from envoys plus 25%. To give you an example, the Zagarians in here. These are the well-known for their slave empire. Infamous Slavers is the one that they get. Or if we run over to the Hutts have, let me scroll down, their name is going to be in white because they spawn right here. Hutt Magnificence. This is who I play. I played as Shanty the Hutt when I did my campaign in multiplayer. Empire size minus 25%. They go wide in all the ways that they can possibly go. Very, very cool. Hutt Magnificence. And there's a bunch. Pike Syndicate gets the spice mines, and they actually start relatively close to Kessel, so they can pick up Kessel and have the spice mines. All right, let's pick the Mandalorians because I haven't actually loaded them up yet. We're going to look at the ship packs available in here. There are some options. There aren't a ton compared to some mods, but there are a pretty decent amount of custom ships. Ship appearance, and we'll flip through them. We'll start from the bottom because all the custom ones. They do have the Chiss Empire, by the way, and here's the list of Chiss ships. Not the most detailed, but it does the job. I mean, it's kind of on point for Stellaris, probably to keep the game running well, especially in the mid-late game. Colony ships, science ships. Now remember, this is set in the KOTOR/SWTOR era, so don't expect to be seeing anything like ISDs unless you end up playing something like the Sith Empire. Then you get your Dorito ships. Their Juggernaut is this thing. Yep. There's the Corvette for the Sith Empire. But we're not going to go through all of these. Just wanted to show you some of them. Oh, there it is. Was it the Howler? I think is how you say it. There's two different versions of this. The Dreadnought version is literally the one with like the... There's an ISD piece of art out there that just shows a victory with the same kind of cutout and a freaking laser here. A Death Star laser, but it'd be hilarious. Anyways, Republic. Yes, this is what I'm going to play in the next one. Republic ships. And you'll notice that a lot of the core worlders, right, are going to be using just the Republic ship pack. So you get a lot of factions that are just using the exact same ships. I mean, it's not terrible. You're pretty used to it with Stellaris, unless you're playing a heavily modded Stellaris game. I wonder if there's any issues with bringing in custom ship packs to this. I imagine there wouldn't be, but don't quote me on that. I have not tried it. All right, so there you go. There's a few options in there. The generic ship list. They've even got the bulk cruiser, because hell, why not? The battleship for it. Ooh, look at that one. Nice. I'm a little sad that they don't have, if we click on, yeah, there is no Corellian, specific Corellian one. I was like, oh man, I'm surprised they don't have like a Corellian ship list. I'd rather have custom cool looking ships. And the Corellians have some really nice ones. If you've ever played like a lot of the Empire War mods that are out there and seen those. Anywho, let's go ahead and load up. Let me go back. Let's go ahead and load up a game. Talk about the gameplay differences. So one of the gameplay differences starting out is that you get to choose between two of the Star Wars Galaxy maps. Lore-rich Galaxy and the gigantic version, 1,300 systems. Now, when you're making your game, if you're playing multiplayer, remember to check your Mandalorian Crusade date, and we'll talk about what this means. But we noticed in multiplayer that it is balanced, and it says it balanced for a start at 2275. In the multiplayer hosting, it didn't default to this, and we had to change it to this. And it looks like in single player it does default properly. Now, you have two choices of Galaxy. I think the default Galaxy in Stellaris is, what, 800 systems, if I'm not mistaken? So keep that in mind, like 600 or 800. 1,300 is quite a few. We'll load that one up so you guys can see it. And then we'll leave everything else as default. Let's go. Lovely loading screens. The music in here is actually quite good. It fits so nicely in the background as you're playing. Now you notice that it said that there is an event for the Mandalorian Crusades, yet we're playing as the Mandalorians as we load up in here. Well, you can play as the in-game event of the Crusades or the Return of the Sith. You can choose those factions and become Mandalore and burn the galaxy. You totally can do that. It's very, very cool. Or you can play, any of the other factions and join with your allies and fight against the Mandalorians as they try to, well, take over the galaxy as they go. It's quite neat. And you can guess what Stellaris events the Return of the Sith and the Mandalorian Crusades use. For the Crusades, the one that we fought in, we haven't actually played the Return of the Sith yet because we haven't gotten that far. We kind of got sick of the slave revolts as the criminal factions, which thankfully, I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about it, but there are some differences and some changes coming to that in the new update, the new DLC. So keep in mind, yeah, the DLC is on the way very soon. I think it's it's like in 4 days, 6 days. I think it comes out on the 12th. So there might be a update that you're gonna have to get for this mod, or you're gonna have to go backdate your game to play this until it gets its update. Hopefully it just works out of the box. All right, we are Mandalore. Let's zoom out and you can see the Star Wars galaxy. It even has some of the unknown regions out there. If you play the smaller one, you're gonna get like a big dead space over here because that's kind of how the Star Wars galaxy is set up. Let's see, if we look up, I bet, yeah, this would be like Ilum up here. They have the Iridonians. Yeah, it's crazy. I actually haven't played this one. When we played on the smaller map. Hut space is right around here somewhere. It should be like this area. And so is the Pike Syndicate. And it's so cool that it takes the location based on where they are in the lore. Now, one of the neat things, and I will bet you, let me go ahead and I'm just gonna fast forward. I'm not gonna dive too high into the research. We will set a couple of things so you guys can see that there is custom research and things have been renamed to fit more within the Star Wars universe. So like early droid brains, which is wow, I got early droid brains right away. Okay. Science level cap, you'll notice that all the icons have changed. Some of you eagle-eyed out there will notice also that the starfighters, yeah, let's go starfighters, will notice that the icons for the buildings, if you know where these icons come from, I know where they come from. If you do, leave it in the comments section. I'm curious how many people know. It's an old, no, I'm not giving any hints, but I got a chuckle out of this when I saw this. I was like, oh, I know where that's from. Oh, that's good. And that is, if you know where that's from, and you see it in the comments, and you're like, oh, what is that? That's an old game. You can still play that, and it's still heavily modded. There's some great mods out there for it. That's the only hint you're getting. Alrighty. Notice things have changed. The UI is different than base Stellaris. There's new resources up there. There's stuff like starship fuel up here. There's your normal exotic gases that are in the game, but starship fuel is a thing. Also, manpower is a thing. Now, sadly, unless there's a tech for this that I just haven't seen yet, you can't trade manpower. I ran into the situation where I was stacked on tons of manpower. I was maxing it out as the Hutts. But my ally, the Pike Syndicate, and the funnest thing about this is the fact that it's the Star Wars universe, so you get these scenarios where the Hutts and the Pikes are allied against the Mandalorians, or the Twi'leks. In our case, we ended up fighting the Twi'leks a bunch, which are set up down here, Twi'lek space. You get those scenarios, right? You know these factions. You know what they're known for in the Star Wars universe, and then you get to see them interact with each other. In our game, the Gungans became a religious fanatical organization and started to take over the southern portion of the galaxy. Which I didn't even know they were going to be a playable faction. I thought, and I still think they are, one of the primitive species that somehow got control down there and went on a bit of a rampage. So who knows how that happened in our game. But we are playing the Mandalorians. We are one of the end game crisis. I guess it was like the late game crisis. It's not even the end one. Because the end one would be the Return of the Sith. Anyhoozle. We have new resources, and you can't trade manpower, sadly. And that was disappointing because I had a ton, and I was like, wait a minute. I am the Hutts. We have legalized slave trade and a bunch of other things. Why can't I trade manpower or send manpower to somebody else in need? And you can't do it. But it is a new resource. You need this for fleet building, upkeep, for building space stations, building basically everything. I think except for like ground buildings. But yep, that's a new one. If you get into like the heavy alloys, that's the new. It does not take over for the normal alloys. It's a new resource. You can use this to build your more advanced stuff, like your advanced space stations and whatnot. And yeah, everything has been swapped out to be a little bit more Star Warsy. Now, the coolest thing, if we fast forward this event, and hopefully we'll pop our first. There it is, tradition. Exactly what I wanted. That was what I was waiting for. There are new traditions, but they're only for the group that you're playing as. So it looks like all of the factions have custom tradition trees that they can go down. The Hutts was focused on being an ever-expanding criminal empire, and so it had a lot of like buffs that made your empire go wide even harder, so you could really spread out. So if you're gonna play as the Hutts, my recommendation for you is play on the bigger map, so that you actually have the opportunity to use that. I found I was boxed in really, really early, and I had all these great, like, if your empire is really big, that I just didn't really get to use much in the early game, which was a bit sad. I wanted to just start, like, spreading out across the galaxy like a plague, and I couldn't do it. So, yeah, play on the bigger map. But, yeah, they get custom traditions in this, which is quite cool. Let's see, what are they, warrior culture. We are without a proper Mandalore. Clans are in disarray, and we need to unite and rebuild. Mandalorian Recruitment Center is an unlocked building. Empire manpower production plus 5%. We can find the younglings. Adopting all warrior culture traditions will grant the following. Ascension perks unlocked plus 1. Gathering ethics attraction plus 25%. Gathering ethics. Oh, interesting. So you can really like get people to come over and join you. Pretty neat. Mandalorian Architecture is a feature that you'll unlock for shipwrights. Interesting. And of course, these will change, how each one of the factions play out. One of the things that's cool about the Mandalorians, if we go over to the Mandalorian capital and we go under buildings, one of the things that they can build, by the way, heavy alloys in the description, it's great because we're playing as the Mandalorians. The heavy alloys include Beskar. Yeah, and there are events. I had one event where we found like an old Mandalorian ship that was abandoned. And I could have sent it back to him, or I could keep it and get some Beskar. That's why the heavy alloys are important. You can trade them. So I bet you, and that's probably why we get a heavy alloy extractor actually starting out, I imagine. I'm a little surprised, unless, if I zoom out, do we get... No, I thought we would get... There's probably an event. I'll bet you there's an event that has you mining Beskar from Mandalore, or maybe it's from Concord Dawn. I bet one of these planets are gonna have it, because all of the factions are scripted, so they don't have custom events, and so I think that some of them have like custom research trades. I'm not so sure, but there's definitely custom events and custom buildings and whatnot. Like, if I remember, Mandalorian Recruitment Camp. Okay, it's similar to other buildings that you've seen, but it does have something kind of neat. So you get recruitment turns consumer goods into food, unity, and manpower. Okay, no big deal there. You can generate manpower, and it's a manpower generating building, something that I don't think the Pikes had, and that's why in our multiplayer game, the Pikes had such a problem with manpower, and the Hutts, I had a ton. But here's what it says. Once every 5 years, Mandalorian recruits finish their training and become true Mandalorians. To assure a steady supply of Mandalorians, recruit the number of jobs provided. Scales between 1 and 3 depending on pop growth. I don't know what this means. Is this just our population grows and we get Mandalorians? I say that in quotation, but just our pop goes up? Or do we get like some kind of crazy, Mandalorian warriors? Do we get like a free Mandalorian army? I'm not so sure. I also wonder how high Mandalorian warriors stack against the average faction. You'd think Mandalorians would grow relatively slowly. If you're wondering, wait, why are the Mandalorians like trying to get people to come and join their empire? Well, Mandalore is more of a belief system. It's a society that you can join. You don't have to be from Mandalore. It's not a species in the traditional sense. It's a belief. So anyone can become Mandalorian if they're willing to abide by the code kind of deal, which is quite neat as you're playing through them, bringing the galaxy under the rule of Mandalore. Awesome. So your job is to survive, get through your own research change, deal with all of your neighbors who are all going to be based on factions in the Star Wars universe, and then when the time comes in 2275, fight the Crusades, and then eventually prepare for the return of the Sith. Now, it even says what era we're currently in. As you get through, eventually the Republic will be founded. You actually get to be here before the Republic's founded and play through that era and see all of the other factions joining the Republic and watching it sway and change. It was fun watching factions that start in a way that we know how the Twi'leks are, and we know how some of the other factions operate, but because it's Stellaris and there are outside pressures, your story will always be different. And because it's based in the SWTOR era, it's quite fun to just see how these factions turn out. I mean, the Twi'leks became such a military might in our last game, fighting a desperate battle against the criminal empires to their north, and funding, and this fit beautifully with the Twi'leks that we know from like the Galactic Civil War. They were constantly funding slave revolts and uprisings in my space, which was super annoying, but narratively really satisfying. Oh, I can't wait until the changes come to how revolts happen, because they're really dumb in this version of the game. Anyways, that's it. That's the game. Total conversion into the SWTOR era, and it's pretty much a blast. I absolutely love the galaxy map, the events that happen, and the way that you choose your factions. I want to play more of this multiplayer. The next one that we're going to try out, we're going to be streaming it over on Twitch. It's going to be me playing as, let's go back to the main menu. I think I'm going to play as one of the core worlds, and I want to play as either Coruscant, which will get some interesting, we're gonna get Coruscant itself, right? And this is after Coruscant comes out of the invasion. They've been taken over for quite a long time, and now they're finally free to go about their business. Yeah, I think we're gonna do Coruscant, and I think Avi is going to play as the Quant aristocracy. So that's gonna be fun. Actually, let's see. I want to see what their start looks like. Let's go ahead and load it up. I imagine I start off with Coruscant and its massive city planet, and all of the layers to it, and become the Republic, so that I can focus on, one, creating the Republic, bringing everybody in, and then fighting off the Sith. It's a great time period to play as in Stellaris too, because yeah, the Jedi, the Sith are a thing. It's got some big major events. It's a good choice. Good choice. And it makes a little bit more sense that we're all starting out with one planet and then building our organizations. We're starting at that early time period. Easy to wrap my head around than like, I'm playing as Coruscant in the Galactic Civil War, and I literally have only one planet. Long updated. Okay. I just want to see what their... See what the research is that we get. Anything interesting? Okay, pretty standard stuff like fusion missiles and whatnot. But what are their Not edicts. I want... Oh, we don't... Society, we can't see it, can we? Yeah, we can't see it until we get... All right, let's just gonna fast forward time. Let's check out Coruscant. Oh, is Coruscant not just like the mega city? Oh, you don't start with one. It's a beautiful green world in this time period, this early days. Wow. That's weird. I'm so used to it being, I thought even in this time period it was still like what's the word for it? Megatropolis or something like that? Event, new ruler has been elected. Yeah. I just want to see what our custom tree is. So we're gonna wait. Strategic resource has been found. Really? There it is. All right, select. What do we have? Coruscant Pride. If we pick this up, we will have the Queen of the Core bows to no one. Leadership pool goes up. Adopting all Coruscant Pride traditions will grant the following effects. Hull points, fleet command limit, ascension perk unlock. Pops from soldier jobs. +1 soldier job per 10 pop. Oh, okay. So a little harder. So for your population basically becomes the defenders of the planet automatically, and orbital bombardment damage goes down, but our defense armies go up. And I love the uniforms. It's the old Republic uniforms in the images. That's quite cool. Protectors of the core, leadership upkeep go down, and Republic special forces. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. Republic fleet system, ship upgrade costs, and home territory fire rates. Interesting. I bet they have some really cool scripted events. And become the Tylo system. Oh, Tython is actually in this system? What? It's a Gaia world, too. What? Oh! The Jedi... I was going to say, why does Coruscant have Tython? No. We are already aware of the Jedi Order at the beginning of our start. Can you tell me more about the Force? Can you improve relations with the Order? That's awesome. Ask for a Jedi Guardian. Allow the Jedi Order to set root inside your empire. All right, that's quite cool. And it makes sense too. Tython is the homeworld of the Jedi and the Sith in the lore. This is where the two factions kind of formed and then split apart. Very neat. All right, that's it. We're ending the video here. If you want to play the mod, go check it out. It's in the description below. Very, very cool. I will see you all in the next one. Oh, come join us for the Stellaris stream. I don't know when we're going to do it, but it'll be over on Twitch/CaptainCheck. All right, everybody. Catch you in the next one. Bye, y'all.